the Revved Up Sports Show with Bobby Chaffee.
We do have this nice little format that we try to follow every week. We don't usually follow it.
And Rodney Rodriguez.
Entertain me. Tell me something. I need to know something other than what I'm seeing.
Y'all ready? Here we go. Here's Bobby and Rodney.
Oh, yeah. How about some hashtag real race talk for all of you? We come to you from Texas, and we've got north and south covered. Down south, Showtime, Bobby Chaffee, Rodney Rodriguez. Racing season is in full speed mode, Bobby. It seems like my hair looks horrible.
Mine does too.
Anyway, but man, we are going. I mean, we had a full weekend here in Texas. We had the Icebreaker, a big old speedway, Heart of Texas Speedway. You've got 37 that's getting ready to get fired up. Your thoughts, man? Man, isn't it so early now? I mean, it didn't used to. Remember, it was like we started in April, but man, we are blowing and going right now.
Hell, we used to start on Memorial Day.
Right?
Remember when we go Memorial Day to Labor Day every single weekend?
Yeah, way back. Man, that is way back. Damn, you're old, dude.
I know. I feel like it every now and then, especially when it's going to get cold next couple of days. My old bones are going to start to hurt.
Oh, man. Yeah. The Texas weather here is going to continue to amaze us with everything that it's doing. I mean, we were hot today, and we're going to be cold coming up towards the end of the week. But anyway, Bruce Wright already checking in. And I want to give those guys a lot of love because, that, of course, Jake Wright, Texas state champion there with the weekly series of NASCAR. Those guys got the royal treatment over at Daytona. I mean, they were living the good life. I mean, this dude was taking pictures with I saw Jake taking pictures with like Larson's wife. I'm surprised they weren't shotgunning a beer together.
Oh, wow. See, I saw the pictures where they were down on the infield for driver introductions and being pretty close, but sounds like Bruce had a really good time. I know they had great seats during the
Bruce
truck
had
race,
more fun. I think Bruce had more fun. Bruce was the champion, I think.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, the championship team owners probably. He's like, yeah, I got a driver, but I'm the owner.
Yeah. That's right. This is going to be a great show. We've got at 6:45, we're going to talk to Chris David, the great folks there with the Race on Texas. We've never actually talked to Chris. A lot of people don't even know if Chris actually has a voice, but we'll talk to him at 6:45. And then Trevor Sanborn coming up at 7:25, and then Max Cookson. So we continue to incorporate the Pass Tour into the program, and that's the great work of our man Phil Whipple there. So I like bringing in the North. It's really cool that we're able to kind of tie this thing all together. A lot of shows, they concentrate on one area. This program, man, we are not biased. We bring it all together.
That's right. Looking for a couple of Midwest contacts to bring us some big boys from the Midwest. Also trying to break into California a little bit. The problem with California, though, that we found out is that with the time change, it's hard to get those guys off at 4:30 in the afternoon to try to be ready for a 6:30 show here in Texas.
Those guys have real jobs, and I mean that's pretty crappy. But did you see? Speaking of that, Derek Thorne got him a big deal. He'll get to do some racing outside of some of the super stuff, and that's great because that's a great talent right there. And he continues to float around, and he goes up north, and he comes down here, and that's one of those dudes where all the discussion yesterday about Austin Cindric, and I jokingly said on Facebook about a guy with a big paycheck, but I mean the guy with a big paycheck won that race, and that's a guy with a big paycheck and a big foot that is actually a really, really good driver. Well deserved. He deserved to win that race because he kicked ass all day.
He was up front running in the top 10 pretty much the whole day, minus some pit stop stuff. But, I mean, that's a strong team. I mean, that's the exact same team that Keselowski had the last couple of years there with crew chief and car chief and everything else. So you just pop in a new driver and boom, right from the top, right from there. So beat Keselowski and the new team to the line.
How was it to see your number 2 car win?
It was very odd to see the number 2 car win. I was happy for the team, a little disappointed it wasn't my guy. But all in all, I think he's been quiet after the Daytona 500 after causing a couple of pretty big wrecks there to take out some heavy hitters.
Yeah, we've got some good sound about all of that. You'll have to tune in on Saturday, and we'll play that Brad sound because we know people here don't want to hear it. But we'll play that on Saturday, just with some of the stuff that happened right there. But really good stuff right there. And isn't it weird that the 2 car finally wins the Daytona 500? Rusty couldn't do it. Kurt Busch couldn't do it. People forget that he drove that car, and Brad couldn't do it. And Austin Cindric, first time out, does it. Pretty damn cool.
Yeah, first time out in a 2 car does it. I mean, he was running good in the 500 last year. Had a top 5 running. deal running when all that calamity captured in front of him. Michael McDowell took out the first couple of cars in front of him to win the Daytona 500. They didn't show that finish enough. I don't think they just they kind of laid into the fact that they forgot about McDowell taking out the top two guys running third to end up winning the 500.
Yeah.
But wasn't that crowd was amazing. I mean, it was like Chase Briscoe said, last year was his first Daytona 500, but this year was his first real Daytona 500 because of the people in the infield, the people in the grandstands.
Yeah, that place was jam-packed. Before we get to the guests, I do want to pop this up before we dig in. And wrong one. We actually had this on the pre-race yesterday, right here. This speaks volumes to safety and granted, I mean, complain about the sport all that you want. But, I mean, really look at these pictures. There's no motor. There's no fuel cell. The rear end is the housing is hanging out of the back. The motor got dislodged right there. I mean, you tell me that this sport has not come miles and miles and miles in a seriously 20, 25 years. That's a short time for the developments that we've seen. I mean, look at that. That's unbelievable to see these images.
It's pretty crazy to see it. It was crazy to see in real time, but as you go back and get to look at more of the images, you got a chance to look at it in slow motion and got a chance to see just how violent of a wreck that was. Because some of the sparks and mud, you didn't get to see the engine flying out. Yeah. There's a section of there where it looks like a fireball where we think it's the engine that flew out, but it wasn't for sure. I think somebody T-boned the motor there as it was rolling down the back straightaway. But yeah, that was a very impressive wreck. But even more impressive to see how well the safety features held up in that car. Well,
and the thing is, even with the wreck yesterday, with the Burton wreck, I mean, to see the bottom side of the car, for one thing, that was weird. But, I mean, the integrity, I mean, everything that's built in right here, we can complain all we want, but the safety thing is really the main thing. And it's miles and miles. And even on the short track side, I mean, we see the advances here. I mean, we can bitch and complain about, super late model expenses and all that. Hopefully some of that teams are spending on the safety part with local stuff. I mean, with the factory stocks and all that. Safety is number one. That is the number one thing. And it's so weird, Bobby, because we talked about this. It's thinking back. I mean, I was actually talking to my dad this weekend, and it's like, how the hell did we survive some of the stuff that we did with the stuff we were driving? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, the stuff that we went through.
Well, it's got to do a lot of it with luck. I mean, as many people as hit the fence in San Antonio,
being hung over.
The wall. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like if you ask Greg Davison about some of the times he probably shouldn't have been racing because of concussions, flying up over the wall at San Antonio into the parking lot the first couple of rows. So I think it was a different mindset back then. I think it was one of those where even if you had a little bit of a headache, you just put the helmet back on the next week and went after it.
Yeah,
not so much anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's good. I mean, it's good. I mean, guys, guys shouldn't be driving, after you've been through something like that. I mean, it's really cool. Donnie Wilson Racing, got to give a big shout out to them. I mean, they end up winning the super late model World Series championship there with Sammy Smith, and just a great run that he had there, and seriously with a couple of wins there from William Byron, but man, talk about that. I mean, with Donnie Wilson, the impact that he has had on super late model racing, this dude, they are the cream of the crop right now. I mean, they are the best in the business.
They're getting there, right? I mean, as far as coming in with the guns loaded, he's right up there with some of the best equipment out there.
Yeah.
The knock on Kyle Busch was, he's a cup driver and he can spend as much money, outspend everybody else. Well, there's a couple other owners that got just as much money to spend to try to win, and and it's not just Donnie Wilson. You got a couple other guys there. The Jets have spent a lot of money into this to try to get a couple of cars in there to win. So it's not just one guy that's outspending them. But he's got some top-notch equipment, and he's definitely got the factory help from Hamke. That helps out a lot.
Yeah, that definitely does. And the proof is in the pudding right there with what they are doing. I mean, they're doing really good things, good runs. And speaking of that, I did see today, so the Rattler's coming up here in March, and I saw that now they're going to be doing lap money for that. I think it's $2,500, extra that's going to be pumped into this, where folks can do like Chili Bowl or whichever one it is, where you can pay for laps or whatever. $2,500 for the supers, and I think $1,500 for the pros and the Rattler. And there's been a lot of discussion where I've seen folks, they've actually messaged me. Shane Turner was talking about where like the World Series is slowly becoming, I mean, not quite the snowball, but just as damn cool. But honestly, think about the World Series. I mean, 9 nights of racing. that's pretty damn phenomenal, because with snowball, it's about 4 or 5 nights of partying and qualifying and all this other stuff, and you do have those races. But man, this World Series thing, that's a hidden gem, and it's backed up right there with Volusia on the dirt side, and then obviously with Speed Weeks at Daytona. Man, that is a great time to be in Florida.
It really is. You got to figure out with there at Volusia. I got a chance to watch some of the late model racing and some of the big block modified stuff online. When they were sitting there racing, they had a couple of issues with Volusia at the beginning of the week with some of the rain and track conditions. They ended up working that out. Obviously, it's hard to race in the rain and race against Mother Nature sometimes on a dirt track, but they worked that stuff out. World Series had a couple of rain delays, but they got in a lot of their racing. But they tear up so much stuff. I don't know if it's because the pro late models in general tear up a lot of stuff, or if it's that they just tear up a lot of stuff in the pro late models at the World Series. But it seems like every year they just tear up so much stuff.
Well, it's one of those things where, it comes to the whole question yesterday about the aggressiveness of Brad and, whatever you want to say there. But when the money's on the line and when it's time to go racing, that's the crazy thing about with the World Series, because it's 9 nights of this stuff, and the racer mentality is, okay, it's time to go. I mean, you got to go. And that's such a weird thing. And it's always a question. It's like, what's the racer thinking? I mean, when you get down to the end, you got to go racing. And that's really what it comes down to when you start getting stuff tore up all the time.
Well, we saw yesterday, we knew that the race was going to end up being, at the end of the race, was going to be the most exciting portion of that race, because the guys were going to forget about race car part shortages and new race car blues and all that stuff. They were going to go win the Daytona 500. That's
right.
Your top 6 thought when they went to that overtime finish. Some people were upset at I saw one thing on social media that said that people were upset at Austin Cindric for dooring Ryan Blaney into the fence to throw the block, right, to keep him from winning.
Right. And
then everybody was like, well, Ryan Blaney's the one that turned Ryan Newman a couple of years ago, and nobody gave Ryan Newman any grief about it. But I mean, it's one of those where it's like, it's not the same thing to do it, but I mean, that's it. The guys are racing, whether it be 2020 with Newman or 2022 with Austin Cindric. Those guys are racing to win the biggest race of the year. As we talked about yesterday, the Daytona 500 is bigger than the championship race, because it seems you get almost as much pub for winning the Daytona 500 as you do for being the Cup Series champion.
Well, and the thing is, I don't give a shit if it's the Daytona 500 or a weekly race. I mean, that's where you're going to get out there. You're going to drive as hard as you can, and I mean, you want that trophy, and it all goes back to the thing that we talk about when people start talking about rain shortened races and all this. I mean, the last lap, whenever it is, whatever the race is, you are going to go and you're going to do whatever you have to do to win. And that's the new normal. And, we can talk about it happening in NASCAR, but it happens at every weekly track. I mean, and it doesn't matter if it's dirt, ice, pavement, whatever it is. That's the way we race nowadays.
It is. That's the way we race, wide open all the time.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Good stuff. We'll follow up on that. Lots more to talk about. Want to talk about some of the Wheelman series stuff and everything happening with Gulf Coast. That's been a lot of questions that we've gotten at revvedupsportshow@gmail.com. We'll talk about that and give you the insight that we have about that, and talk about the Wheelman race at Citrus. That's coming up a little bit later on. But now we're going to the Lone Star Speed Zone hotline. And this is one of our favorite dudes right here. And a lot of people always talk about with Race on Texas and with Revved Up and Race on Texas, kind of the same concept there, where it started out where it was just an idea. It was just something where you thought about doing it, and you start launching stuff on trying to make racing great for your territory. And the guy that leads the operation right there, we all know him, we love him. He's a good dude. It is the man, Chris David. This should be a Legends edition as well. How you doing, my brother?
Good, fellas. I appreciate you having me on tonight. It's been an honor to be on y'all's show. I listen regularly, but like you said, I've not kind of dodged the spotlight just because we've got a great team that puts a lot of good stuff out there for you guys and for racers. And so, but glad to be on the show tonight.
So, Chris, talk about it. I mean, the whole idea for you. I mean, you raced. I mean, everybody on this call has raced at some point. I mean, to get out there and your involvement when you launched this. I mean, because streaming now is such a big thing. But when Race on Texas was born, that was it was very much in the infancy days of all the whole streaming concept.
Absolutely. 8 years ago, it'll be March 1st, will be our kind of our launched birthday. When we first launched it, it was trying to consolidate track VHS kind of videos that you see out there. We wanted to bring everything to a digital age, and we tried doing that for an on-demand kind of setup, and then it just blossomed into streaming. And I remember being at our first live stream going, what are we doing? How do we do this? And learned, and obviously have grown a lot since then, Rodney.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, Chris, your days of filming racing video goes all the way back to H&P in the early 2010s when Shelley was watching you race as you were running around the high banks there at Houston Motorsports Park. I mean, you guys have come a long way from the video with hardly any announcer audio to anything like that to full-blown racing announcing audio now. And it seems like you guys have come full circle from when you started with just one handheld camera up in the spotter stand at Houston.
Yeah, I always tell people I'm better behind a camera than I was behind the wheel. We had a long stint there at Houston Motorsports Park in the truck division back in the John Mandelbach days, and big fields of cars, and having you guys on the announcing side. And my wife Shelley was 9 months pregnant, climbing to the top of those stairs to film the races, and it turned into, well, other people wanted to see it, and I was like, well, let's put it out there. And with actually some help of John Mandelbach, we kind of grew this into it. And then we got a phone call from another track, and we hired an employee, and I say a contractor to go out and film for us and bought equipment. And Harry Fair and I, who was my spotter at the time, that's where it was born. And he's a technical guy. I said, hey, Harry, this is my vision. How do we do it? And he's always figured out a way to plug everything together and bring it all together and actually make it happen. And that's the launch of it. And then, with COVID hitting, all of a sudden we're live streaming is just accelerated to the forefront to, in 2019, I think we did 17 live shows. In 2020, we did over 100.
Wow.
2021, we did over 150. And we're on pace to do over 350 live shows this year, which is just incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, Chris, talk about the thing. One of the things that we talk about on this show and our Saturday show as well, with the streaming aspect. Back then, when all of this was first happening, the promoter side, a lot of times the promoter was like, kind of standoffish, didn't want to hurt the front gate because people wouldn't come to the racetrack. I mean, talk about that challenge, because you guys here in Texas have really been the ones that have really soothed the promoters, kind of eased them over to realize that this thing is actually a really good thing for their racetrack.
Yeah, I'll kind of answer it backwards here. In 2021, this is a number that no one knows externally outside of our team, but we gave $150,000 back to local racing last year. When we put those numbers together, I was floored. It was exciting to see such a big number that went directly back to the tracks, right? So we always say we give half of the revenue from every membership, the profits, back to the racetrack. And we think that that's important to keep the tracks invested as partners. And, at the beginning, we had a lot of naysayers. There was a lot of tracks that said, I don't want to take the risk. And, we kind of showed them data early on that we have found where we even looked and dove into kind of attendance of a race from the year before. And then when we broadcasted it, and it made no impact. And I always say that people that are going to go to the races, they're going to the races. Mm-hmm. The people that are staying home, they're staying at home. And why not give an opportunity for them to buy a seat, right? So with our all access membership package, it allows you to stream everything we stream right from your home or your app or your Roku, and so it gives them a chance to be invested. And I always say, tell people, you're supporting racing when you're watching from home. You really are. There's that check gets written every month. I personally write every single check that goes to these racetracks, and we want to support racing, because without full grandstands and without full pits, I've got no product to show anybody. Right. And so that's the most important part to understand. But yeah, $150,000 back, and we want to double that this year. And with the number of shows that we're going to put on this year, I think it's an achievable goal.
Nice.
That's crazy. That's hard to follow up on. So, Chris, as the promoters have decided to work with you, the technical side, I think that the next leap for you guys is when you guys got the Roku and the Apple TV app. I know it made it a whole lot easier for me to watch the Race on Texas content when I was able to not have to plug my computer into my TV. So it seems like you keep hitting the strides in the next milestones. I think that the Roku app really opened the door to not only just the people in Texas watching it, but I'm sure you get subscriptions from all over the country.
Sure, absolutely. And we're, our name is kind of dated ourselves. we're not just in Texas anymore.
Right.
We weren't very forward thinking when we started, but here we are going to be broadcasting from 13 different states this year, and that's a little teaser of some of the growth that's coming out. And so we've got 14 or 15 videographers running around with us now. We've got 3 full-time employees, and to be able to sit and watch our team continue to take on the challenge is what is so cool. Is that every year we're pushing and pushing and pushing the envelope. And, like you said earlier, Bobby, we didn't even have announcer audio on some of our stuff. One of the broadcasts we did an audio only broadcast of a race. And, with adding things like live timing and scoring and replays and drones and all the technology that we're trying to be on top of it. And it's thanks to the racers, right? The more subscriptions we sign up, the more ability we have to grow that. And the tracks see it too. The tracks, for the most part, love it. We get phone calls all the time. I've got tracks right now that want to work with us, and we're trying to find ways to make it work. There'll be a night here coming up where we'll have 10 live broadcasts in one night to choose from. And it's crazy to think about. And you should see our cellular bill. That cellular bill might be $150,000 this year.
Yeah. So Chris, talk about that part, because that's something that I do want to address with people, with folks that may catch us live or on a replay. I know that another company had some problems this weekend, with producing a live broadcast. Talk about everything that goes into that. People think that the camera just comes on, the guy's already talking. They don't realize everything. This really is a TV production, but we're so reliant on Wi-Fi, internet, wired connections, whatever it is. Talk about those challenges, man. That is so much that goes into that.
That's a huge challenge. So we use zero track provided internet anywhere we go. Everything we bring with us. So we are self-sustained. We use several different cellular providers, and we use some pretty incredible technology that makes a super connection. And sometimes you can go out there and you can test and say, "Oh man, this is great. We got a nice solid coverage of internet to get us up." And then you put 2,500 people on the same cell tower,
right? And
just like if you go to a sporting event, and that text or that tweet that is not going out. Yeah. Having troubles. Well, that's the same issues that we as broadcasters sometimes run into. So there has to be fail safes in place. And I love it. A lot of people don't see me at the racetrack and they think that I'm not there. I would love to be at the racetrack, but I sit in my home office with multiple monitors and we monitor every broadcast that goes out, right? So we're sitting and we're watching the broadcast remotely. We're watching internet connections and those types of things. So that behind-the-scenes stuff is pretty wild. And I know people get frustrated, and believe me, we do too when tech issues happen. But, I use we were watching the Bassmasters on FS1 before the Daytona coverage, and they use the same technology we use. And every now and then you would see a camera go a little bit blurry or grainy. And we knew exactly what's happening in that situation, is that they're expanding on their cell service. But luckily, with technology, and the cellular providers and 5G and all that stuff, it's allowed us to be a little more flexible. But yeah, it stinks when that happens, and it happens to everybody. And it's customers, as we try to get better and we try to put better technology in place to keep it from happening. But yeah, it does stink. But there's a lot that goes on more than just the camera. And like I said, I think we have around 40 hotspots that we have running around right now. And
wow.
Those things are always breaking, so I joke every weekend something happens, but we always try to find a way through it. And majority of the time the customers are understanding, but staying up. And that's something that Harry's done a really good job with on our team, is making sure that we have some of the best technology. And to be quite honest, we've even had other broadcasters reach out to us asking about it, because we built it all in-house. We have not copycatted anyone's ability to stream and how they get the stream to the customers. So that's pretty cool to know that that was something that was kind of self-made.
Yeah.
So Chris, you alluded to it earlier. Obviously, we enjoy the conversation with you since you're a media partner with us as we give out some of the year-end awards and stuff like that, Promoter of the Year, Driver of the Year. But you alluded to having a lot of new broadcasts coming out. So obviously, Rodney and I kind of know there's a reason why you're on the show, but now you can let everybody else know some of the different highlights that you guys have planned for 2022 and beyond.
Yeah, so 2022, just in adding some of the tracks that we've added, with Rocket Raceway Park now being a Saturday only event, versus them running every other Friday or so, and they've got their big race, USMTS race that we're going to kick off with them on March 4th and 5th. And things like sprint cars are going to be a cool deal to come in. We're working on some stuff that you'll find released later this week. And I was hoping to share that with y'all tonight, but just be ready. It's going to be a cool announcement. But, adding tracks like Lone Star Speedway and Kennendale, Big O, those were tracks that we weren't regularly at last year. And we're going to be bringing those regularly to our platform for everyone to see. So just those additions alone will create a lot of fresh new content that people didn't get to see before because we just weren't there. And so we're excited about all those relationships, and those tracks have been awesome to work with. And that's the cool thing is I get to talk to all the promoters constantly. I get to communicate with them, and it's cool to see their wheels spinning on how can we do things bigger, how can we do things better, and they all seem to be really, really bought into what we're trying to do for the sport, and that's simply just provide another source of revenue, give them a chance to have the technology for their marketing partners and things like that, from producing commercials, highlights, and things like that. So that's a big part of it, and there's going to be a lot more coverage this year on our website itself as far as results and behind-the-scene interviews, and we've got a lot of cool things planned to really kind of up the game, Bobby, with that. So more and more content. I mean, we're proud to say that, we engaged 115,000 people on our website alone last year. We had 3.1 million minutes viewed on our Facebook page of videos. So, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, and I always tell people too, people don't forget, we've got a really cool YouTube page. We have 882 complete races on YouTube from years past. So, if there's something that's really old and you want to go back and play it, you don't even have to have a membership. Just hit our YouTube page up at Race on Texas. And so, yeah, there's going to be a lot more content coming this year. A lot of exciting things that we're partnering with people you wouldn't expect us to partner with. I should say that. So I'll tease it like that. But a huge team effort behind this. People don't realize that it's just like you said right earlier. It's not a guy behind a camera. I mean, there's a huge team that, was working with Phil and his write-ups and Aaron and his relationships that he helps us with. And Tony, he's our lead producer and production coordinator. I mean, he's putting schedules together. We've been plugging in schedules as they come out into our master calendar, and it's fun times. And, I always joke, I do this while I have a full-time job, and I don't know how. But it's, again, one of those love of the sport kind of things. And we really enjoy what we do here, and Harry and I both do. And it's fun to see the brand recognition. It's fun to go some places and see someone wearing a Race on Texas T-shirt. Those are the things that get us excited. So, but yeah, lots of big stuff coming. So, I really wanted to let the cat out of the bag tonight, and I'll make sure you guys are the first to know when we do that.
Yeah, man, I love that YouTube thing because I go back and I get to see my old ass out there running around from time to time, and it's like, hey, look at that,
You want to tell a funny story about that, Rodney? There's a video I think that you can find somewhere on our YouTube page where you were racing and we were up in the booth filming, and they didn't have an announcer, and you were running your dwarf car, so I ended up announcing a few of the races before and after.
That's right.
And so, and murdered names, slaughtered names. I've got new appreciation for you guys.
In that race, if I recall that race correctly, I made a hell of a run from the back and managed to screw up at the end and take out half the field. But that's one of those things. That's just one of those things. But Chris, talk about this. I mean, for you guys, with everything, the way it's evolved for you. I mean, I remember it was just one camera, whatever it was. But now, like when Tony shows up and he's running multiple cameras and graphics and all of this stuff. I mean, it's unbelievable how like you said, because like this show, I mean, this show's homegrown. You guys, the same thing. To see it evolve into that, man, that's got to be a lot of damn pride for you.
It is. I got to owe it to the guys because, I mean, we've got a lot of people that have taken careers on with us, right? I mean, who I've said, hey, this is what we're trying to build. Come on board and let's ride. And to see them grow and their talents, it's just incredible. Like people like Xander who does all of our creative highlight videos. I mean, he was shooting footage at HMP as a high schooler. I at one point had to speak to his mom. He was 15 years old about doing side work for us editing. And, these guys now have grown and they have a career with us and they're extremely talented and they're growing in what they do. And, to walk in and see sometimes what happens when we're at big shows and, just to sit back and watch them work, place like Cotton Bowl that I do get to visit quite often, where I can just sit back and watch it. It's incredible. I mean, it behind the scenes is, we want to try to show some of that more this year. And I think that's an important part of what we do is showing people what we do. Because there's a lot of people behind it. There's people that are dedicated that are out there till 3:30 in the morning, and that feature might be running late because it rained, and those guys are standing up there in the elements, and they're tired too, and it's those are fun moments. Not the staying up late part, but seeing the production stuff grow and how it has, and you like you said, Ronnie, it's a lot like you guys. I mean, we've grown with you guys. I remember doing video work with you guys at H&P, and it's fun, and we do it because we love it, and we do it because we hope somebody gets value out of it and sees something, when you see, oh, hey, I'm watching my grandmother's in the hospital and we're able to watch this race or whatever it might be. Those are rewarding for sure, because that's, at the end of the day, we're not trying to take anyone away from it. We're trying to put more eyes on it.
Sure.
I think that's important, is positive press, positive conversations, and growth in the sport from the video and the technology aspect.
Yep, got to keep that going. I do want to ask you, lastly, Chris, I mean, talk about the whole Speed Pass idea. The thing is, unfortunately, of course, asphalt here is kind of scarce, but I love the idea when you guys put the Speed Pass thing together. I mean, the whole track revenue thing was secondary to me. I mean, I'd never really thought about that until you guys did that. But just the whole process there of having a platform where for very little money, you can jump in and watch racing all across, not just Texas, but across all these different places.
Yeah, so that came about. That was birthed out of COVID. If you recall, obviously we all know when everything shut down and they were saying you can't have more than 50 people at your racetrack. Yeah. And I love what Ray over there and those guys at I-37. They're like, hey, we're going to do a pay-per-view only show. We're not even going to put fans in the stands, and we're going to separate the pit area. And I was like, man, this is great. This is a cool idea. And Aaron approached us and said, hey, you got to change your platform completely. And I'm like, excuse me. I was a total naysayer, and Aaron really helped us build this idea. I was scared to death, and we ran the numbers and tried to figure it out. All right, how does this work? Will it work? And I remember the first weekend that we were kind of launching it, I'm thinking, we might have just sent our company into the ground here. This may not stick. And sure enough, lo and behold, we end up growing 71%. We end up giving a record amount of money back to the tracks every year, and the tracks all of a sudden are getting, $2,000-$3,000 checks a month that are hitting their accounts every single month, even in December and January. Because as you retain your membership, we continue to pay the tracks. Mm-hmm. It's not about when they race or how many views they get. So it works out really nicely for them. And that's when I think it all clicked and it really excelled us, because I think the pay-per-view model, as we've seen in hindsight, has gone away, and everyone's moved to kind of a monthly membership. I mean, everyone's jumping in on it. Paramount Plus, Discovery, all of these people have moved to that model, and Flow Racing's done a fabulous job really growing. I mean, they do thousands of shows a year, and but there was that risk that we took at the time that we took it, is what I think is why we're here today. And and we want to work with more tracks than we can probably handle. And like I said, we've got tracks now that I'm like slow playing them a little bit, saying, all right, we got to get stabilized, because when I saw that we freaked out one night when we had 3 live shows going on, and we're going to do 10 in one night. So I don't have enough monitors to keep up with it. So, that's what makes it fun. But and that kind of just circles back. So I know I'm kind of beating a drum here with the team aspect, but we've really had some really good people on board. And, people like Aaron who have that foresight and that ability to say, all right, this is what might be happening with the market. And we take a hard look at that and take it seriously. And we want to have fun doing it. I love going out to the racetrack. I don't get to do it nearly enough, because someone's got to stay and hold the fort down in a way.
Yep.
And answer those emails. I tell people all the time, if you have ever emailed Race on Texas in the last 8 years, I have answered every single email personally, and I always do. So when someone the other day had left us a message. I was speaking with Chris the other day, and I said, "Yep, that's me. I'm always the one answering emails." So, I try to stay engaged that way with the business and things like that. So it's fun though. Sometimes I'm stressed out, and I'm sure we will be this year. But man, nothing better than to see people enjoying watching it and seeing people share content on Facebook and I always joke about the one of the most viewed videos of all time was in the front wheel drive race at Cotton Bowl this year between the boyfriend and the girlfriend,
and
right. And how that accelerated. I mean, that thing went viral, and kind of you guys had him on the show, and it's cool stuff like that, right? I mean, if we never had captured that, what would have happened at that moment, right?
Right.
That moment would have never gone anywhere. People at the track might have talked about it, they might have told somebody about it, but being able to have that video and say, and I hope in 20 years from now people can go back and say, man, I look at my old videos showing their grandkids and stuff. I get on a tangent watching my old race videos when I was running ninth, and thinking what a great night. So yeah. But I'll keep from racing, guys. I really appreciate y'all having me on, and I look forward to coming back.
Yeah, no doubt. So Chris, tell everybody, obviously raceontexas.com, but give everybody all the socials, every place where they can keep up with everything that you guys are doing.
Absolutely, yeah. So raceontexas.com, go there, sign up for your membership. Then you can log on through our Roku app. We also have an iOS app for your iPhone users. We're working on the Android and the Fire Stick. Those things are coming. They take time and they're very expensive. And, we also are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. You'll see more from us on those platforms this year. And then we've got a huge schedule coming up. I keep saying March 4th and 5th, we've got the Rocket Raceway Park with the USMTS Modifieds coming to town, and that is going to be an incredible show. It's amazing what Kevin have done over there. And, and we've got Devil's Bowl Speedway March 18th and 19th for the kickoff of the ASCS National Tour. That'll be live on Race on Texas. And this weekend, we've got the Frostbuster out down there at I-37. That's right. So that's right. Great track, a lot of racing there, and love what those guys done. I've seen a lot of improvements in the facilities there this year. And so, get out to a racetrack. And if you can't be there, man, hop on raceontexas.com. It's $39.99 a month. No contracts. You cancel any time. And half of that revenue, of that profit goes right back to the racetrack you select when you sign up. So we want you to sign up. We want you to go to the races and go home and replay it. And the cool thing about our system now is 15 minutes after the race is over, you can replay the whole thing. So no having to wait till the next morning or anything like that.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Chris, thanks for the time, my man. Thanks for jumping on, dude. This has been fun. It's been fun. Glad we finally got to do this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've always had Aaron or someone else on, and I said, you know what, I wanted to break some big news to you guys tonight, but I did share that $150,000 number. We don't want to toot our own horns, but we just want to let people know that we really are paying back money to the tracks, and I think that's why you see improvements, and that's why they're able to increase purse money and things like that. So we love to do that, and I appreciate you guys having on everything y'all do. I'm a regular listener, usually on the replay, but when I can catch it live, I'm always listening.
Right on, dude. All right, my man. We will talk soon. Talk to you, brother.
All right, bye.
All right, take care. Those guys, you remember when they started? Like he was talking about, it was like, okay, just a camera, just a guy up there. But folks don't realize how hard it is to make that thing work. And I saw people beating up Racing America about the Wheelman thing. And yeah, I mean, I was trying to watch, but dude, it is hard. It is hard to make that work.
Well, I think when you're on a certain side of the camera, you know more about what's going on, right? I mean, we see it when we work with Tony and Chris and the guys up in the tower, seeing how many computer monitors they have, how many computers they bring up there, how many cords, how many cameras, stuff like that. We get to see Tony trying to beg the scorers for the lineup so he can do the graphics for it in advance. It's not as simple as just popping it up, trying to get the live timing and scoring to work. That's huge. That's become a staple. But like you said, this online broadcasting is not just the broadcasting that used to be with one camera and no audio. It's literally, it's a TV broadcast that comes through, and obviously it's become a very successful model there for Race on Texas.
And the whole thing is, it's like when you, from a fan side, before you want to beat up the Race On or whoever, Flow Sports, whoever it is. I mean, think about when you go to a football game and you're trying to do, Twitter, whatever it may be, and your stuff isn't working. It's because it's an overload on the network and whether it be cellular or wired. I mean, I've done high school football games where I have a very secured wired connection that I plug into the wall, and I'm trying to do this game. And it gets overloaded because there's so many people, whether it be media or coaches or whatever. It's we're very reliant on the internet, and that's hard. That is very hard. Where we take for granted this connection. I mean, this show so many times, depending on what happens, you get a blip in the connection and the shit won't work. And take it easy on these guys, because there's a lot that goes into getting one of these things put on the air.
And I think that it was good that Chris mentioned, the $150,000. Some people were complaining that they, this monthly subscription idea is not going to work. Well, it ended up working, and it sounds like it ended up working successfully for the Race on Texas business model and the business model for the different racetracks. So now that you've got even more of the expanded, I'm interested in going to Kennedale when I lived up in the Metroplex, watching the weekly racing up there to see how successful it was up there. I'm really looking forward to the expanded coverage there of Kennedale to see how much the racing has changed in the years since I've been up there.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, and they really have. I mean, they've added racetracks that they've got all the big ones. I mean, they got all the ones where the car count is good and the crowd count and everything. And for folks, I mean, don't think that streaming is a detractor. I mean, it really is a good thing. And I love what he talked about, where COVID, I think, is when we really realized it, to where, and I know some of the promoters were pretty hardcore about not wanting to do that back in the day, because maybe it would hurt your front gate, but I mean, at the same time, with what they're doing, and I know that some of the others do it as well, to where it is, I mean, it's revenue sharing, and that's really to where you should applaud the streaming platforms for doing that. But at the same time, he didn't say this, but when the streaming platforms are revenue sharing, that's money out of their pocket, and it costs money to do this stuff. He talked about the cell bills and all that. I mean, it costs money to do this stuff.
Yeah, to operate it is never free, right?
No,
that's not including all, and that's not including all the equipment that you need. Those little boxes that you need to flip to different cameras, that little system is not cheap.
No,
we do good. That's why we only have 1 to 2 cameras every show that we have, due to the limitations and the budget of the stuff that we have. I can only imagine the monetary investment it takes for just the production staff up there, not the staff, but the production issues and hardware and stuff that you need to make these broadcasts go through. And it's that way for everybody, not just Chris and them at Race on Texas, but everywhere. But it's funny how we talked about it. How many posts did you see this weekend that somebody said, "Oh, I couldn't stream the race, so I just decided to go out"?
Yeah.
We used to never see that. It was like, "Oh, well, I didn't get to go to the races, so screw it. I didn't get to go to the race." Now it's like, well, I couldn't go and I couldn't watch it at home. Now I'm forced to go out with my friends now instead of watching it on TV.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's a different time, but I think streaming, it's a great thing, and I love what you said right there, because seriously, I mean, cameras cost money. I mean, mixers cost money. I mean, everything does. So it should be applauded for what not only Race on Texas, but I do think that they do. And Chris made a great point, because that's one of the things that I was thinking about, because we do have a little bit of intel on what they wanted to announce tonight, but they're just kind of waiting on the logistics right there. When you say Race on Texas, like he said, 13 states. I mean, pretty good for a little homegrown. We call this a shit show. But pretty good for like us. I mean, we're across all these states. Well done for them. They've done a great job.
Yeah, and streaming has become a necessary evil for these racetracks too. It's almost like you have to have it now to keep your normal fans entertained, because life happens, right? You cannot come to a racetrack every single weekend as much as you'd like to. Mm-hmm. And Race On has proved that not only does the model work, where if you can't go, you're going to watch it on TV. How many times have you and I, after we've gone announced somewhere, gone home, flipped on our Race on Texas accounts and watched the show right after we get home?
Yeah. And the thing is, that's what's so funny about streaming, because I tell you all the time with this show, the good thing about streaming is anybody can do it. The bad thing about it is anybody can do it. And that really hurts those of us that really want to try to do, halfway good job. That anybody can flip a camera on or flip a phone on, and boom, there you go. But I think quality is so important, and Race On has done a great job, because they really have. They've improved. Not that they were bad before, but like now when you turn on one of these shows and they're popping up all these graphics and doing all this stuff, and I really think that, especially being homegrown as they are, I think that speaks volumes for Chris and Harry and all these guys that you got some lifers in there like they talk about. They all work. They work, but they want to make this really good for everybody. And I think with the influx of dirt racing and as popular with all the dirt tracks that we have, they do a really good job servicing all those racetracks.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, the thing that we always joked about is that, not only is it about podcast and streaming, podcast is just like kids, right? They're really easy to make, but not everybody should have one.
Right.
And so that's what makes the commodity. So everybody's, oh, I can do this, I can do that. But like you said, not everybody can do it successfully and worth a damn. That's where some of the different stuff comes in. It's one thing to pop up, like you said, one thing to pop up on a Facebook Live and not have any kind of a studio audio or anything else like that, versus those of us that try to make the investment in the infrastructure to try to have a decent sounding, professional sounding broadcast. So,
yeah,
it takes a lot to it. And Raceon's done the investment, and it seems like all those years of blood, sweat, tears, and money spending is finally paying off.
Yeah. Bobby, before we get Sanborn and Cookson on the program, I do want to ask you, with this, with the Wheelman thing, with Wheelman and Gina and with the Gulf Coast series that, we're a part of. It's like you and I are like Jeff Gordon on this whole thing, where it's like we talk about this stuff and we're unbiased, but yet we're a little bit biased. This move for the super stocks, I think that this is a great opportunity for all of these cars. And I've gotten a lot of calls. I've gotten a lot of calls about, well, I still have to travel. But I really think that between Gina and Ricky, giving these cars an opportunity to race, I think that's where folks need to capitalize on that. And they're trying to make this as even as possible. The super stocks, the Texas super stocks, because I've gotten that. I was talking to a media outlet from out of state, and they were talking about what is a Texas super stock. And I said, it is like nothing that you see anywhere, anywhere, but they've been given a new life. And I think that for all the folks that want to frown on stuff, you have a chance to race.
Well, I think it gives an alternative, right, to compared to what it was. Obviously, the class needed something. It needed a kick in the pants. Because it just wasn't, despite how many midnight hours were burned trying to get people involved and get the cars out of the garage and pull them out of the weeds and everything else. For whatever reason, it just never clicked. It just never caught on like it did when the super stocks were hot and heavy at Kyle. Yeah. The easiest way to think of a super stock is to compare it to the dirt cars. A super stock got really popular there at Central Texas Speedway when they started allowing the outlaw looking bodies and stuff like
TSRS.
that.
Yeah,
that's when it got big, and it became its own class that traveled everywhere else. Just kind of like the Arclitex rules there with the factory stocks have now taken over the factory stock type of rules that everybody's adopting. And so it's kind of the same way, but after a while, the super stocks, for whatever reason, mainly because Kyle closed and Houston closed and everything else, some guys converted over to dirt, some guys didn't, some guys still have their cars sitting on jack stands in the shop. And we don't know why, never know why they haven't ever taken them out.
Yeah, and the thing is, we talk about affordability, and the thing is, and I'm going to tell you this straight up. I mean, the thing is, when that super stock class ended in Kyle, 2016, that last race, November 12th, 2016, at the end of that race, into that season, 25-6 cars, whatever it was, nobody cared about affordability then. And, I think it's so odd now that we go back to, well, they're getting expensive. And that's what really grinds my gears, because to me, the super stock class is what you've been to my dad's house, what we have sitting in the backyard. That's a super stock. What a super stock was at the end of those days was a TSRS. And a
limited late model.
A limited late model. I mean that drives me crazy. And it's funny how soon we forget. But I really do think that I'd love to see those cars come out of the weeds. And I know that it's a long way to go to Mobile or wherever, the South Alabama or wherever it's going to be. But I just think that it's a good opportunity, again, to save those chassis. Don't convert them. I mean, if you are a diehard pavement racer, go race pavement. You are not going to retire off of the money that you're going to make racing on pavement or dirt. And I think that's where, when people start talking about it costs too much, You're spending
It
a
all
lot.
costs- it all costs too
You're
much.
spending more. You're spending more than you're going to make. Don't tell me that that it costs too much.
But we've always spent more than what it pays. We've always
Absolutely.
spent more than what it makes. It doesn't matter. It's always been expensive. Whether you run a mini stock or you run a super stock or a super late model, didn't matter. You always spend more than what you're going to make.
Right.
That's the way the racing model works.
Yeah, and I really think that with this adapting this over, I think it's a chance. I think it's a chance just to save some race cars. I mean, I like it. I know it's a long way. I've driven that drive. It's far. It's far, but go
It
race.
sucks. It's a long ass drive.
Yeah, it's a long ass way. But you know what's the future moving forward for Houston? I mean, I don't know. You know, that's the other thing where it pains me to think what the future is. And you have to be ready. If you're going to be a pavement racer, I think at this point you need to do one of two things. You need to get out there, convert your car, get out there and race as well as you can, and maybe sell it as a pavement car. And I'm not promoting that you sell your car. Get out there, do that, or go to dirt. One of the two. I mean, that's your options because it's tough. It's going to be really tough here in Texas.
Well, it's just really tough. I mean, you know, the Lost Speedway's at it the best when it says that, you know, a state as big as Texas, not only, I think they downplayed the fact that there's not a class for late models.
Right.
I think they downplayed the fact that there's only one pavement track left in the state of Texas, and it doesn't even run full time. It's going to run 3 or 4 times in 2022 versus, you know, back when we were talking to Chris David a few minutes ago during the John Mandebach days. Every other weekend, man, that place was jam-packed and jelly tight with race cars and people and everybody else.
Yeah, and with the wheel, man, I think that is, you know, they started 26 cars at Citrus County this weekend, and I think that's great for them because it does. I mean, it affords a place for folks to race, and the thing is, with Ricky Brooks, I mean that's Roscoe P. Coltrane right there. He's going to keep this thing as tied in as possible to where it doesn't become, you know, a pro late model. I mean, that was kind of the downfall of the pro late model, to where guys started stretching stuff out, and to me as a casual observer, that's what the factory stocks on dirt here are becoming, is what a pro late model was on pavement, to where it's like, we're going to give a little bit here and we're going to do this. And those things are damn near unaffordable for a weekend racer, I think.
Actually, they are unaffordable for a weekend racer. That's why you see a pure stock class still popping up and being good.
Right.
That's why you see the E-Mod class starting to grow and expand out a little bit more than it was. The E-Mod class isn't just for kids anymore.
No.
You see experienced racers running in that class now.
Yes. Look at the results from Heart of Texas last night. They had 14 cars in the factory stocks, which is a very low car count, but that was a stock car thing. So, you're not going to have the points guys. But look who raced in that race. That's the guys that chase the checks. And that's what that class is becoming, and that's exactly what the pro late models were on pavement. Well, they still are. I mean, nothing's changed with that.
No, not really. Nothing's really changed with that. But I mean, in terms of, now, let's not forget, a Wheelman and an Outlaw car are not the same car.
Not the same car.
Two completely different classes that you happen to deal with there with a Wheelman series car versus a Texas Superstock and an Outlaw. Those are not the same cars. While they do openly, yes, we totally agree, they do look the same. They are leaps and bounds different from being the exact same machine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of factory stocks, got to give some love to our man, Caden Honeycutt. He wins at the World Series and then turns around and wins at Heart of Texas Speedway in the factory stocks. Well done. This dude, that's a great example of the adaptive racer that gets out there and drives his ass off and shows up and works on his cars, and does a good job. I'm hoping really good things for that dude.
And he's a successful iRacer there for Roush Fenway. Is it Roush Fenway that he's connected with, I think?
I'm not sure.
I think he drives number 17 in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. So not only is he a good iRacer, he's also got his hands on real race cars too.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, to watch him, he's worked his ass off and he's doing things the hard way. I mean, he travels all across the country, but really cool stuff to see him to do that and see one of our guys that I think he's going to be okay. I think he's going to do fine, but he's paying his dues. And I mean, to watch him go from Florida to come race heart of Texas, I mean, that's doing things the hard way.
It really is. I mean, the travel bill is expensive, especially when he gets fired up with this coming up season with the Cars Tour, being announced as one of the Cars Touring 12 car drivers. That's a huge deal with that series. So that's good to see him commit to the series. Got himself a new ride where he's going to try to chase the championship with. So nothing but good things are starting to, the hard work's paying off there for Caden Honeycutt.
Mm-hmm. Did you see USMTS this year? The national champion gets $100,000.
That's a lot of money for an outlaw modified.
That is a lot of money. And they get the Leon Ramirez trophy. That's even better because, what a great staple that Ramirez was there for all of that. But talk about short track racing that's growing and adding with these series that continue to evolve. We got World of Outlaws coming up here just in a couple of weeks. I guess week after next coming to the Cotton Bowl. You had the Lone Star stock car tour last night at Heart of Texas. That's a lot of money. It's a hell of a lot of money.
It's a lot of money that's being pumped into the sport and being pumped into the sport real with us. Actually, I think Woo's next weekend, isn't it? Friday and Saturday?
Yes.
28th and 29th? Or
no. 4th and 5th. Or 5th
March
and
4th
6th,
and 5th.
Whatever that is. And that's going to be, that's one of those things too, where I've gotten random messages from folks that watched the Anaheim race. And they said, hey, what's the closest thing that I can see to that? I'm like, Cotton Bowl Speedway. Go watch the World of Outlaws. They're going to be sold out. That place is going to be jam-packed. Last year was packed. They will be standing room only, down 290. That's going to be big for them.
That's going to be a huge show. I'm looking forward to trying to get into that show and see it. Because if last year was any indication for that first trip that they actually got a chance to compete there at Cotton Bowl as a whole, then this upcoming race with the notebook that they had from the races last year should make that race even better than it was before.
Yeah, I think so too. Coming up on Saturday, you do have the Frostbuster that was mentioned there with Chris. I-37 getting fired up. I think the weather's going to be okay for them. I don't
be cold.
Yeah. I think they're going to be fine. It's going to be cold, but it's the Frostbuster. I mean, it'll be the name of the race. I mean, I think that's totally good for them. But good for them, getting fired up, getting ready to go.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a Frostbuster for sure. As we got a chance to see the weather schedule pop up this week. I mean, how about that? And let's not forget about the success that Owen had with that Stars that arena racing series that they've been doing down there. That I've been watching that on Race on Texas myself.
Yeah, good stuff right there. Good stuff. All right, let's go back to the hotline. It is the Lone Star Speed Zone hotline. Speaking of cold, we're going way up north. We're going up north on the hotline. Joining us, it is Trevor Sanborn. Trevor, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey, good evening, guys. Not too bad.
Man, thanks for taking the time. How cold is it where you are?
Actually, it's not bad today. It was in the 50s today, but
oh my
typically
goodness.
at this time of the year, it's 20, 10, 15, 20 degrees.
I love it. Man. That's cool stuff. So let's talk about let's talk about you. I mean, you're a northern guy. Talk about the connection with north and south. It seems like with these super late models, we're finally bridging a gap here to where we're getting back into the old days to where north and south really can get along.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, it was a little more of a rivalry, but a lot of north guys go south now, and you don't see a ton of south guys coming north, but we'd like to see more of that.
Yeah, I think they're scared of you guys, is what it is.
Well, I don't know about that.
Sorry, Bobby.
So Trevor, talk about the difference. We've talked to a couple of the northern invaders that like to run in the South too. And other than just not knowing the guys because you don't race against them that often, have you been able to notice a difference between running up north versus running south? Do they tend to bang wheels and bang doors a little harder down south than you guys do up north?
Yeah, I would say at times they do. I haven't raced a bunch of southern guys lately. I mean, we go to Hickory. A lot of the north guys from up here race at Hickory. There isn't a lot of southern guys there, even though it's down in the south. But I mean, we all race pretty clean. You get some people get I guess more money than brains, but whatever. They like to tear things up, and I just can't function that way because I can't afford to patch up race cars steady.
Need more guys like you. So Trevor,
Yeah.
Trevor, talk about the Pass Tour. I mean, it's so cool. I mean, to sit from afar, way down here in Texas, to watch that tour. I mean, what a great tour that is to watch the traveling and the competition that all of you provide.
It's definitely got some really good drivers, crew chiefs. They have a great series. This year we'll be racing just the North schedule, but we are going to drop down to Hickory and race in March. But the Pro All-Star Series, I've been racing since 2007, on and off.
Yeah.
I've only got 2 full seasons, 2007 and 2010, and this year we're going to hit it again to go full time, and we're pretty excited about it because it's been a while.
Yeah, love it.
So, Trevor, how many races does Pass run a year? Do you guys get to run into the big stuff? Does it tie into like the Milk Bowl and the Oxford 250, or those separate races from up there where you guys are?
Those are separate races. The Milk Bowl's an Actor race, and obviously the 250 is, Pass cars. It's a little bit different car, but we got about 18 races, I think, on the schedule for the Pass North, around there.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's a full schedule, and talk about that. So dial us back. I mean, for you, how did your career start? I mean, we talked to so many guys on the show, and it's like, well, they go back to families and everything. How did everything get fired up, or for you to venture off into this damn thing that we call racing?
Well, when I was young, I was always interested in racing. My dad owned race cars, and people drove for him, and he worked on cars, and I just took a liking to it. And he came home one Christmas with a go-kart when I was around 9 or 10 years old, and then we just went racing. We raced go-karts, I don't know, in the summer, 3 days a week.
Wow.
And then we went right straight from go-karts to a super late model when I was 15 years old.
Damn.
We raced at Beech Ridge Motor Speedway in Scarborough, Maine for 3 years. And then I got a chance to drive Cushman competition, Jay Cushman's race car on the Pro All-Star Series in 2007, which was my rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
And it just took off from there.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
That's a stretch to go from go-karts to super late models. How much did you change your driving style to do that, man? I guess you got to run on bump stops both times, did you?
Yeah, well, in 2003, the cars really weren't on bump stops. They were on soft spring, big sway bar type of setup. But I'll tell you what, it was quite different. Obviously, the horsepower thing was a little different there, but it taught me how to be really smooth.
Yeah.
Go-karts, you had to be really smooth and carry it, and it worked out in the race car to be really smooth. And we did have a successful season. I mean, I was 15 and I won the first year out with the car at Beech Ridge, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So Trevor, talk about that. I mean, for so many, I mean, we're sitting here watching NASCAR and, the cars evolve and all this different stuff that's happening. Talk about the progression of a late model from when you started to where it's at now. It's a very intricate race car. It's a very delicate race car. You have to finesse this thing. You can't just dog this thing into the corner. Talk about how it's changed from the time you started up until now.
There's so much. I mean, when I first started racing, the car that I had was a big spring car.
Wow.
It was different than what we have now. We have coilover cars on bump stops. When I first started racing, we had big motors, dry sump motors. Now we all got crate motors. It's quite the change, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy to watch it.
But I think I think it's going in the right direction. Everything's going good. The competition level is a lot closer, I feel now, than it was when I first started racing in 2003 with stock cars.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, Trevor, talk about your car as in a nutshell. I think is the past car kind of like what we in the South consider like a pro late model, since you guys are running crate motors, or should it have more super late model type qualities about the past cars?
No, it's a pro late model car. I mean, there's no big engines really up here. No dry sump engines racing around up here. There's only a few that I know of, but it's definitely a pro late model car. That's for sure.
Yeah. So do you think, Trevor, that's one of the things that keeps everything healthy there? Because I know here in the South or along the Gulf Coast, it's like with the super late model, it's so out of control. And I think that puts some guys out of business. I think that maybe up north doing that model has kept, the fields healthy and the series thriving.
I think so. Got some certain rules you got to go by, but the crate motor thing I feel has saved it some. It's, when we say crate motor up here, I don't know what they do in the South. I don't know. I mean, but up here they literally get it from GM and pop it in the car and race
That's the way
it.
It should be. Yeah.
And that saves money, and it's just, everyone's more on an even playing field. I mean, if something's wrong, they can go. Someone feels someone's out of stock or whatever, they can just go put it on the dyno. Simple as that. If you're too much, it's over.
Damn. Simple concept.
Yeah. Simple rules make for better racing, doesn't it?
God damn.
Yeah.
Sorry to cuss. Jeez.
So Trevor, so now that we know what kind of car it is, now do you guys run on 8-inch tires or 10 inches? We had a really famous race director and racing inspector say that he feels like pro late models would be much better on an 8-inch tire than a 10-inch tire.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
Oh,
we're on a 10-inch tire, and I mean the Actor cars. I believe they run a 603 crate motor.
Yeah.
Which is about 75 horsepower less than what we have for a 604. And, I believe we'd be slipping and sliding if we had 8-inch tires on our car.
Yeah. Probably so. That's
probably, if everyone's on the same thing, it probably wouldn't be that bad, but the handling wouldn't be as good, I guess, for everyone,
Yeah. Yep. So when do you fire off? Is it the Easter Bunny or so I get confused. You got Caraway in there.
Go to Caraway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Caraway's the first race, and then we're going to stay down there for 10 days with the family and go to the 2 Hickory races and come back home. And I believe the first race is Oxford.
Oh wow,
up here.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think that's going to be a great schedule. So for you, goals. What do you plan to accomplish this year? Just win every damn race that you start. That's what some guys say. Win every damn race that I start.
Well, that's near impossible, but
well said, my man.
We don't go there to lose, that's for sure. We got a mindset of going there to win. You never know how the day's going to go, but we're looking for wins and some top this year, and hopefully somewhere's a points champion or close to it towards the end of the year for pass.
Yeah, super cool. So your thoughts on just up in your region. Last question. Your thoughts on short track racing as we go. I mean, I know down south, we got a lot of folks that really progress over to dirt because for whatever reason, but your thoughts on just the state of short track racing as we sit here today on, February 21st, 2022 on the pavement side.
I mean, I feel like up here locally, it's gaining ground.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Oxford 250 and Oxford Plains Speedway in the past, there's always a great following of fans. There's always a great following of race cars that go to each race. I don't see it dying down. I feel like it's on the up and up, and will continue to get better.
Yeah. You guys are doing well up there. You guys are doing so damn well. Super good stuff, man. Thanks for jumping on here, man. Good stuff, and congratulations on all the success. And we look forward to following you along this year. It's going to be fun stuff.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
You bet, man. Take care.
Have a good night.
All right, be go. Here he is. See, they're good there. We're over here like, what's next? They're in good shape.
Yeah,
Trevor
they're always
Sanborn, right there.
Their late model programs up there are really good. I think they found the right combination of power and weight ratio that makes it seem really work. Right? I think he hit the nail on the head where he's talking about you don't have the super late model problem we have down here where everybody wants to end up in a super late model versus up there, everybody seems content to just have really good racing with the 604 Pro late models.
I know. And the Pass Tour, I mean, they are so good. I mean, you sit there and you watch. I mean, Phil goes out and does stuff for us and he posts stuff and I'm like, all those cars? And again, a pro late model. And it really is. Sometimes it's okay to maybe not have as much horsepower, but still be competitive. Those guys are killing it. Take notes, everybody. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing we found is that now we have heard differentiating.
Well, it's funny.
On the 8-inch
it's funny when you asked him that. It's funny when you asked him that because I didn't expect that answer from him.
I didn't either. I thought for sure he'd be like, well, the 8-inch tires are going to be a little cheaper, a little longer lasting, whatever the case may be. But I mean, but maybe that's why Ricky's getting all the pushback to try to put him on 8-inch tires because of the way that they handle now, like a super late model.
Well, and I think part of that is, I mean, you think about this because we were talking yesterday with the NASCAR car. You think about that with a car that's not generating as much horsepower. Maybe that you're down on horsepower just a little bit. You have a wider footprint, and you're going to be able to dig in more. So with a crate motor, with a wider tire, you're going to get the bite. You're going to get that bite and be able to dig off the corner. I think that's where he's going right there, without kind of reading into what he's saying. And I can totally feel that as a racer because it is. I mean, the wider the tire, you get that good grip. That's going to work better with less horsepower.
Yeah, I think that's the magic number that they're looking for now.
Yep, absolutely. Going back to the hotline one more time as we roll on a Monday here from Texas. Now we welcome in on the Lone Star Speed Zone hotline another one from up north. And this is a great story right here. This is my man, Max Cookson. Max, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, sir. Doing well. Max, let's talk about you. I love your story. I mean, we see all the racers that we talk to guys who are like, we've been doing this for 30 years and we progressed into doing whatever. Give us some background on how you became the modified champion of the Pass Tour.
Yeah, so my dad, I guess starts with my dad, had always been interested in cars his whole life, and when I was 4, we got a go-kart and started racing that for 6 or 7 years, and then just kind of got done, and then started sim racing on the computer a lot, and ended up winning a big race on there, and bought the modified, and had a heck of a season with that.
That's awesome.
So Max, we're seeing more and more racers go from iRacing into big full-size race cars. We saw William Byron's one of the more successful guys that's done it. We've got a guy down here, Caden Honeycutt, that bounces in between iRacing with the Coca-Cola series to super late models to late model stocks to everything he can get his hands on. And now you progress from winning iRacing up until trying to get into modifieds and modified championships. Obviously, I don't iRace. I tried before and I epically failed at it. That's why I don't do it anymore. But how do you go from the iRacing, the simulation? Is it really the direct one-to-one, just quote unquote seat time for you to hone your skills doing the iRacing versus the real racing?
I know in my case, we always, had, snowmobiles and street cars and stuff, and kind of just had that, knack for, speed and whatnot. But I think a lot of iRacing is just, you can run so many races on there and experience all the different, in-race situations you may go through. And, I think that's just really the biggest thing, is just being comfortable in, certain things that may play out on the real racetrack.
Yeah, and that's a great point. So talk about that, Max. I mean, how because we Ryan Luja is one of our Texas guys, and he and you, I mean, are guys that have really made your way up there and just done phenomenal things. When you're doing sim racing, when you're doing iRacing, I mean, to really do that well, you have to be balls to the wall and doing it all the time to really elevate yourself, to get into one of the quote unquote real cars.
Yeah, I never really understood what guys were saying when they would, everyone races in the summer and then they'd get back on iRacing, in the winter months. And it's definitely everyone that, is on there all the time in the summer. It's amazing how much, staying on top of it or not being on top of it, dwindle your skills. So, I mean, it's definitely a thing. Like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it a lot to be really good.
Yeah.
So, Max, what's some of your favorite racetracks? Do they have a lot of we're familiar with the tracks down south that they have, like Pensacola and some other tracks down here. Any of the tracks that you like up north, and have you liked any of the tracks you've raced at down south on iRacing?
Yeah, so I've only the only two tracks on iRacing would be Myrtle Beach and Oxford, the only two ones that I've experienced. And I know as far as those two, it was relatively similar to iRacing, but those are the two that I have experience on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Max, let's talk about those modifieds. I mean, I love the modifieds. We were just talking, pro late models here with Trevor Sanborn. Talk about those modifieds. To get into those cars, you jump in. They got a lot of horsepower. You're on a skinny tire. You jump in and you start driving to one of those things. How was your progression from sim racing over to one of these things? I think that's a really good race car to get your feet wet in.
Yeah, I know for me, as soon as I got in the car, I was just comfortable, and it was just a matter of, there's so much, in iRacing, you can do some setup stuff, but in a real car, there's just so much stuff.
Yeah.
That you can do to it, and just kind of sorting through all that stuff, and really just learning, because you show up to the track for the first time and you don't really have a clue what's going on with the thing, and just kind of learning all that stuff and what adjustments are going to do what. And as soon as you kind of just get in the rhythm of that stuff, I felt like being on all the iRacing stuff and doing that, it just it wasn't a one-to-one transition, but it made the transition for me a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
So, Matt, let's talk about the car itself. Now, it's not one of those tour type modifieds like the Whelen modified cars. It's more like what we have a pro modified here in Texas with probably a 603, 604 crate motor in it.
Yeah, so up here in the past modifieds, they're a stock front clip and then a stock Camaro front clip, and then that's with a 602 with a 4-barrel, and then a Ford 9-inch rear end. So they're relatively. We have a $125 shock rule, so they're relatively cheap division to get into, compared to a pro or super late model.
Man, I love that.
Smart rule. $125 shocks for a pro mod. That's pretty good.
I love that a lot, man. So how was it for you?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Max. I'm sorry.
And then for the tour, you're on a every other, you get 2 tires one week and then 1 tire the next week. So you kind of get, you got to manage your tires that way. And then, that also kind of just keeps the cost down, doing it like that.
Mm-hmm. So how was it for you the first time that you graduated from the sim to getting in the race car and actually putting the foot to the floor and actually driving one of these things? How did that feel for you? And hell, then you win the championship. That that is some kind of ride right there for you.
Yeah. So the first car I actually drove that wasn't a go-kart. It was actually a late model stock at Myrtle Beach. Was nice. the first full size car that I drove, and then getting in the modified. At Oxford, it was just, I don't know. I just found myself getting comfortable really quick and just wanting to learn as much as I could about the car.
Yeah, that's great. That is so cool.
It's sad to see Myrtle Beach go away. Obviously, it got demolished there for a shopping center or an industrial center, something along those lines. But talk about the relationship you had with that racetrack. Obviously, it has a lot of old school race fans. Remember when they used to run the Xfinity Series there, or the Busch Series there? How many races did you get to run on the old Myrtle Beach Speed Plant down there?
So it was actually just I got to go down there for one test day just to test the car. So that was the only experience I got to have there. But I was fortunate enough I got to turn a couple practice laps around there before
awesome.
it got torn down.
That's cool. That's cool. So you win that past modified championship. What's in store for 2022? I think you got some super stuff that's coming up. What all's in store for you, Max?
Yeah, so we sold the modified right from the racetrack. It went from tech to a different trailer, and then we ended up buying a Pro Late model and tore that down, and in the process rebuilding that, and then we'll have a full schedule of Pro Late model races for the season.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. How do folks keep up with everything that you're doing? You got socials, everything going on. How do folks become fans of Max Cookson that may not know you by now?
Yeah, so it's just Max Cookson Racing on Facebook, and then I also do some stuff on my personal page, which is just Max Cookson, right on Facebook. So anyone can go give that a like.
Yep.
They want to.
Yep, absolutely. Well done, my friend. Proud of you, man. That's a cool story. I love what you're doing, man. I think that is so cool. Good luck in 22. Congratulations on all the success, and we'll stay in touch, dude. Let's do it again soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good night, guys.
All right, man. Take care. There he is. Do you see why racing is so good in the North?
That they have cost saving methods built into the rules.
Right. Here, we just kind of go crazy and do shit. They seem to have things in place. $125 shock rule. Guys would quit around here rather
I'm
than
not racing
do
on
that.
$125 shock. No, hell no.
2 tires? Hell no. I got to have 15 sets to go practice for 6 hours. Man.
That's why they have a good crowd of that's why they have a good crowd of past modifieds up there. They showed some of those races on Racing America, and some of those races were pretty damn entertaining.
Yeah, they are. I mean, both of those dudes are right there. I mean, I think in the last 20 minutes here, we have heard why racing does so well up in the North. I mean, just everything that they do right there. They contain it better, and it's not a slight at anything down south, but it's not the wild West. It's the much calmer North, it seems like.
Well, the reason they call it racing in the South because the S in South has replaced with a $. That's what it seems like when they talk about coming to race down south is a $.
That's exactly
versus
right.
up north is a little bit more cost effective. But the racing is still, I think you get used to the relative nature of the racing that's around you. Obviously, we're used to the super late models and the pro late model racing here in the Gulf Coast. We're used to that. Versus up north, not saying that one form of racing is better than the other.
Right.
But I think you come conditioned to the racing that you're used to. Same, no different than the Cup Series, right? We got conditioned to that Gen 6 car.
That's right.
Where we now we have this next gen car, which as soon as they get a flat, they get high sided and can't go anywhere. They're going to have to learn and adjust that with that brand new 18-inch tire, which who knows what's going to happen on that deal where they confiscated the tires. We didn't even talk about that. The tire will come because that's either going to be a slap on the wrist or your Daytona 500 winner's not going to make the playoffs and be stuck at home for a week.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think that'll be a penalty. I think that's one of those things where they're learning. And I think that they'll say if anything like this happens again, well, it was a safety thing. You know, we played that sounder yesterday where it was safety stuff. But, I mean, we saw the wheel problems yesterday. I mean, so that's been my concern with that whole thing. I mean, aluminum is,
Cans, yeah, easily crunchable.
Pretty soft. I mean, so I was concerned about that, especially with the big brakes. I mean, that's a big old brake rotor compared to what was there before. But yeah, I don't think that'll be. I think that'll be a learning thing. But yeah, we'll kind of see what happens there. Forgot to mention when we were talking about USMTS. So it starts March 4th and 5th, I think it is, at Rocket Raceway Park. How about that? Petty, Texas.
They're making some really good progress on their racetrack too, putting in some infrastructure in there and updating the facility. That place, when Kevin posted some pictures the other day on his Facebook page, as well as some updated photos in Rocket Raceway Park, that place is looking top notch, which is exactly what you'd expect from the Kevins when they start taking over.
Absolutely. And don't forget, coming up this weekend, you've got on Saturday, you got the Frostbuster over at 37. We talked about that. They've been renovating, doing some stuff there as well. So good job to them. Go out there, support that racetrack. You got Cotton Bowl coming up with World of Outlaws, and then a big show coming up after that as well. So we're firing off. And I mean, everything is starting to happen because we're really getting going. The Wheelman series is going. They'll be at Auburndale, I think it is, coming up here at some point. Couple of weeks off. No, March, April. It's in April, so there's some time off there. But I really think that whole super stock thing, I think that's great for that series and for Mobile and for Gulf Coast, Houston, whatever. I think that's pretty cool.
I think it just opens up the door of possibilities to keep racing alive for that particular class. And I think that if anybody can make it work, it's Gina and Ricky working together to make that happen.
Yeah, that's a good combination. Good combination right there. So rest of your week, my man, what you got planned? What's going on here as we're through Daytona? Time to get racing again. Time to get ourselves back in shape again here, my friend.
I know I got to try to warm up the vocal cords. I got to get with Owen to find out what the plans are for announcing down there at Texana. Working on trying to get some spring break plans ironed out here for a little bit, and get conditioned, get ready for the Saturday show, get ready to start working on places for races again, because that's going to be a pretty big segment now that we got racing up, rocking and rolling everywhere.
Yeah, we're firing up again, and we are on the air on the Horn, hornfm.com, on Austin Radio, and the Horn app coming up on Saturday at 11 o'clock. Do want to talk, Bobby, just for a second. Friends, it's been a crazy few days. So I do want to tell each and every one of you, whether you catch us live or later, appreciate those near and dear to you, because life is kind of weird, and you get some curveballs, and it's funny. A few hours can really make you scare the fuck out of you, and I said it, or really just kind of make you think straight, from time to time, and just every now and then, just kind of check in with people. It's oh man, just be thankful if you can, and appreciate all of those. And Bobby, I appreciate you, man, because that was one of those things. I reached out to you and kind of told you what I was kind of dealing with there, and you were very with your thoughts and everything, and man, it fuck crazy shit, man. Crazy.
Yeah, it's always the unexpected that makes it the challenging portion, but it looks like everything is on the up and up on that deal, so that's a good thing. Looks like all the thoughts and prayers are paying off.
I think it's going to be good. Great program. Thanks to Chris David for checking in, and great things coming up there from Race on Texas. Trevor Sanborn and Max Cookson, those dudes from the north. I love talking to the northern guys, to where it's like some of the guys from south, they're like just going on and on and on. These dudes are like, they tell you what you need to know. They tell you what you need to know, and it's like, that's it.
Which is really funny, because all of the northerners that we know in broadcasting, hell, they won't shut up for nothing.
How the hell is it that these guys know Phil Whipple and that dude won't shut his ass? How is that?
I don't know. It's crazy. He's just interconnected well, I reckon.
I tell you what. And Phil has done some really good stuff with us. He lined those two up for us, and really good stuff. Oh, hell, I'm all thrown off over here hitting the wrong things. But great program. Thanks for everybody for checking in. And always remember, RevvedUpSportsShow.tv. That's a place where you get all the bonus content, because we go in, we chop up all these interviews, and that's where you can see the video part to go back and just trim out, if you just want to hear Chris or one of those guys. If you go to the YouTube page, that's where all those are nice and chopped up.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel while you're over there.
That's right. That's really good stuff right there. Really good stuff. Thanks to all those folks. Thanks to all of you for checking in. Have a great week. Bobby, my man, hope you had a good day off. Did you work your ass off on your day off?
No, I needed to, but I didn't. I took it kind of low and slow today. So that means the rest of this week's going to be entertaining and try to catch up on the stuff I didn't do today.
I love it. It's hashtag Real Race Talk from Texas. Remember, follow on Twitter and Instagram at RevvedUpATX, and of course on Facebook and all the other places. For Bobby, I'm Rodney. We are on the air Saturday on the Horn, and right back here on Monday night. Bobby, Daytona 500, go watch it again. You'll enjoy it the second time.
Yeah, especially if you're a fan of the 2-car.
Good stuff. We're back next week, guys. Have a great week.